Every one of us is tasked with bringing the world to perfection. This week's Parsha reveals a secret to help us do just that. The narrative that gives Parsha Pinchas its name begins in the final few verses of last week's Parsha. After Balak's plan to curse the Jewish people failed, he moves on to plan B: seduce the Jewish people into sexual immorality and idol worship. And plan B is highly successful. We read, and the people began to commit harlotry with the daughters of Moab. Israel became attached to Baal Peor, and the wrath of Hashem flared up against Israel. A plague overcomes the camp to punish those involved, and while Moshe is busy dealing with those who engaged in these grave offenses, a Jewish man and a Midianite woman commit very public acts of sexual immorality and idol worship. Just then Pinchas, Aaron's grandson, is outraged and takes matters into his own hands. He takes a spear and he pierces both of them through the stomach, killing them and halting the plague. That takes us to the beginning of this week's Parsha, where we learn Hashem's reaction to Pinchas' zealousness. Is Hashem okay with Pinchas taking matters into his own hands? Is the act of vigilantism acceptable, or would Pinchas be ultimately punished? Just 3 verses into the Parsha, we get the answer when Hashem says, "Behold, I give him my covenant of peace." Pinchas is granted a covenant of peace. How are we to understand that? What exactly is a covenant of peace? The commentaries put forward several different understandings. One approach says that Pinchas had violent and extreme tendencies. And while his actions in this case might have been acceptable to Hashem, generally speaking, acting out in vengeance is not okay. So Hashem gives a covenant of peace to help Pinchas keep control of those natural tendencies. Another approach suggests the opposite. This approach says Pinchas had neither violent nor extreme tendencies. He, like his grandfather Aaron, was a peaceful man, but one who was driven into extreme action. Killing 2 people, even if Hashem ultimately approves of such action, changes you. And the peace-loving Pinchas could have been transformed forever into a violent extremist had it not been for Hashem granting him a covenant of peace to restore his inner peacefulness. The second approach resonates with me this year. Chaverim, my friends, if ever there was a time in Jewish history where we, as a people, needed a covenant of peace, it's right now. Let me be perfectly clear. The war in Gaza is not a war Israel or the Jewish people want. It's a war that was thrust upon us by the atrocities committed by Hamas in full view of the entire world. The war is necessary. The war is perfectly just. The war is being waged in ways that aim to minimize collateral damage, with measures being taken to avoid civilian harm that no army in human history have ever undertaken. But despite all this, civilians die. Despite all this, children die. And every time one does, every time a civilian dies at the hands of the IDF, every bit of the collateral damage, it chips away at the soul of Medinat Yisrael, the soul of Am Yisrael. Because like Pinchas in the second approach, we are not a people with violent or extreme tendencies. We're a peace-loving people. We're a people who want nothing more than for the lion to lie down with the lamb, nothing more than to beat our swords into plowshares, and for the entire world to be filled with peace. But we're a people who, when faced with extreme evil, are willing to act to stomp that evil out, even if that action eats away at the core of who we are. Every one of us knows someone who before October 7th were what Israelis would call doves, people who believed in the possibility of peace. But since October 7th, they have turned into hawks. The people who lived in the kibbutzim on the Gaza border were doves. They lived where they did because they believed the day would soon come when the fences between Israel and Gaza would come down and the people would all live in peace to build a better region. Those communities were the first to be attacked on October 7th, and the ones who ultimately survived after witnessing firsthand the evil of October 7th have become the staunchest of hawks. but in their heart of hearts, the doves are still there. Even if they can't see how, deep down, maybe in places they don't remember exist, they still believe in peace. All of Medinat Yisroel, all of Am Yisroel in our soul believe in peace. We can't let this war, as necessary as it is, change who we are in our souls. May Hashem bring the remaining hostages home. May Hashem bring a speedy and a successful end to this war. And may Hashem grant all of us a covenant of peace so that who we truly are in our souls can shine forth into the entire world. That is one thing we can learn from this week's Parsha. How will you step up this week to bring the world a little closer to perfection? Shabbat Shalom and Am Yisroel Chai.